Good morning. Today I'd like to talk a little about who we are. I've touched on this subject a number of times, but I've put together some interesting pieces. I've talked to a lot of interesting people and come across a lot of really interesting ideas, and pieces have kind of fallen into place. So we have a soul, which comes from universal soul. This is an aspect of the sun, an aspect of creation. Soul is known for being unconditional. It's being infinite love and infinite light. So when you hear love and light and you hear infinity and you hear the forgiveness, forgiveness without expectation. This is often all talking about the soul, and religion has a big part to do with this, because religion was originally designed as a way to guide us back to that so that we don't forget it, because being incarnated is a big deal and it's a big change. So religion has been a way that we can be guided back to soul purpose. Soul is all about love and light and expanding consciousness, unconditional forgiveness. This is all soul. This is all our heart. Our soul is represented by our heart. Our sun is represented by our heart. It's what gives us love and light and energy and spreads blood and warmth through our body. So that is our soul. Our soul, like I was saying, is unconditional love. So all we have to do is accept. It sounds a little religious, but all we have to do is accept that we're infallible, that we have problems, and that our soul is an aspect of the divine that is perfect. And all we have to do is let go of our ego, let go of our problems, and say, okay, I want to return back to love and light. I want to do what's necessary. So our soul will just say, hey, come back to me. It doesn't really do much else. It's beautiful. It's like the sun. It just shines all the time. So our spirit is part of our planet spirit, Earth spirit, which is part of the universal spirit code. So all planets have spirits, and that comes from a more archetypal spirit. And we are given both part of the sun's soul and part of Earth's spirit, because our bodies are actually Earth's as well. We are not our bodies. So we have our spirit that comes from Earth, and Earth gets her spirit from the universal spirit. She is an aspect of universal spirit. And we also get our body from Earth. So our body is not our own. Our body is Earth's. Our body is cosmic stardust, or however you want to think about it. But our body is Earth. Our spirit is Earth's spirit. So when we talk about the fact that nothing is hidden and nothing is separate, we're talking in a very literal sense, in that we are embodiments of our planet. Our planet is conscious of us. It's not the same way we are conscious of other things, because we are not the relationship between our planet and ourselves. That's a magnified relationship. So we are ourselves. We have our own source code, and that's who we are. We are a source code. We can incarnate and embody. We're probably embodying in multiple places right now. We're our own source code. We're on this planet in a biological experience using a body that's made from the earth, that's animated by the soul, the sun, the central sun, and who is guided by our spirit. And our spirit is Earth spirit, which is the universal spirit. Okay, so this is a basic framework so we can talk about who we are, and these individual components basically shape our whole lives, or our whole conscious lives. Whatever we do when we're unconscious is unconscious, so it's not really that applicable. The Matrix is virtually all unconscious behavior. So the Matrix would have us doing unconscious things that are meaningless for our whole lives. And basically, if you've ever seen the movie The Matrix, it's the equivalent of a bunch of people being strapped into a giant battery, just having the life sucked out of us and feeding a greater machine. Because we're never achieving our true purpose. We're never seeing the nature of reality. We're never seeing that we have a soul, we have a spirit, we have a body, and we have a separate source code. Just that is profound. I think that it shouldn't be profound. I think this should be what we're taught when we're 4 or 5 years old. I think that it should be so reinforced in our culture that we don't have to teach it, because it's logic. When we're given good information to work with, we want to process this information in a good way. We've just been given a lot of bad information, just like horrible information. The Matrix survives by pretending good things are bad. So basically, the fact that there's people are suspicious about being overly concerned with clean water and not having GMOs and not having pesticides, and the Matrix likes to label these as these bad things as good things. They like to say, oh, meditation, that's just for weak, lazy people. It's not that important. Meditation is just something weird people do. Yeah, you should kind of honor it and worship it, but also worship it in a way that you're never going to do it. That is what the Matrix says. Hey, you're smarter than meditation. Be respectful of people who meditate because it's a respectful thing, but don't actually do it, because that would be a sign of weakness. Just like worrying about what's in the tap water and trying to drink filtered water, the Matrix says that's a sign of weakness. Drinking poison is a sign of weakness, is what the Matrix says. So basically, we're going to be Mr. Smith and reminded by the Matrix every time we do something right. So anytime we have a Mr. Smith occurrence, someone demanding that we stop what we're doing and follow the rules, where the rules are counter to spirit, that is Mr. Smithing. That's an agent of the Matrix popping up within someone, taking someone over, because we've been programmed to not be ourselves. We've been programmed to be agents of the Matrix. We've been programmed to be empty, hollow vessels that just are slaves doing work and that can be inhabited by Mr. Smiths at any moment. This is, the perfect slave system where we keep ourselves enslaved. We've been trained to be crabs in a bucket. We are not crabs in a bucket. We ourselves are magnificent beings. We can accomplish really amazing things, but the Matrix, the system, Babylon, has conditioned us to be crabs in a bucket, constantly trying to grab each other and tear each other down and not let anyone get above us. This whole concept of other people getting above us, like, this is a beautiful thing. We want to be lifting everybody up, because the more people that get up, the more support we have getting up. There's absolutely no, someone else going down because someone else going up. That, again, confusion of the Matrix, saying that because someone is doing better, someone else has to do worse. It's the other way around. When someone else is doing better, we all do better. We're a collective consciousness. And just because there's been these little slave laws that have been set up to torture and punish people doesn't change the fact of reality. Natural law is a very powerful thing. We can see natural law all over the universe. And just because, some people came up with some psychological systems to control people doesn't mean that natural law all of a sudden doesn't exist. All they can do is say that natural law is bad, and their twisted version of law is the only law. And that's what we have right now. We have a government saying, basically, listen to us and ignore everything else. So now that we have a little bit of a sense of who we are, we can just breathe into this and meditate into this and see what comes from this. And we can really play with this concept that we are embodying right now, and we can build a better relationship with ourselves because we know who we are. We're not confused about who we are anymore, and I think that's where a lot of the problems in life comes from, is being confused about who we are, because the Matrix tells us lies, tells us who we're not. It tells us who we shouldn't be. It tells us to be who we shouldn't be, and it enforces us to be who we are not. So really meditating and talking about and thinking about, contemplating the fact that we are not our body is Earth's, our spirit is a guidance system that is actually Earth's, that she lends us, and we get guidance by our spirit based on how respectful we are to spirit. So when we are fulfilling our roles, when we are being really respectful to what our spirit wants, what Earth spirit wants, what universal spirit wants, then we tend to get support. We find people helping us in our lives, we find ourselves more happy, we find more synchronicity in life, we find ourselves more driven with purpose. These are all aspects of a strong spirit. Our eyes become much larger. Our eyes are clear and large when we're in connection with spirit. And one of the symptoms of being disrespectful to spirit over and over again is that spirit cuts us off from spirit source. And symptoms of that are every symptom imaginable, because spirit is what really, our soul is our animus and our spirit is our guide. So if we have no guidance, we're, lost souls, basically. And again, our soul is happy to unconditionally forgive everything, but our spirit says, no, you got to be respectful if you want guidance. So we can find, if we're ever having a question about anything, all we have to do is plug into our spirit. The way we plug into our spirit is kick our ego out. We basically say, I surrender. I want to know. I don't care about any of my emotions or my thoughts anymore. I want an answer. I want to figure this out. And then our spirit says, okay, you need to do this to show your respect, and then I'll let you know. And spirit tells us this by compelling us, okay? Compulsion can take many different forms, but we will be compelled to ask for forgiveness, to do something nice to someone, to solve a problem, Whatever it is, Spirit will give us a little test to show our respect. And as soon as we pass the test and show our respect, sometimes in a few different ways, then our guidance will come back online. We're like, oh yeah, of course I was supposed to do that, and now this all makes sense. So that is our spirit. Some people, there are some mystics who just focus on their spirit all the time. That is their whole existence. They're in a dream state where they're following their spirit, and this is a beautiful thing. Some aspects of their being are maybe not so common, so we might see different proses being used, we might see different tenses being used, because people that are following their spirit all the time are accessing higher realms. So some of the words they might use might not make sense in a traditional three-dimensional sense, because living in a different world. And that's totally fine. When we see people who are slightly different and use words that don't quite make sense, that's fine. It's not a big deal. Verbal language is a very limited form of communication, so the fact that things sound strange is normal, because, we're working with a lot of limitations here. Empathy and psychic transmissions are clear. They still require interpretation. They're not infallible, but they're really clear and rich and detailed, where words are very flat and dry and don't tell us a whole lot. They can be interpreted many different ways. Words don't convey a whole lot by themselves. This is why seeing someone's face, hearing someone's tone of voice, being present with someone in a room adds so much more to words, because words themselves are just kind of hollow. They can paint, they can sketch outlines. It's like, words are like working with graphite, with pencil. It's not very clear detail, not much richness. A great way to outline things. So we have our spirit with our guidance system, and then we have our body from Earth, and we have our own source code. I'm going to talk maybe a little bit about our soul next. Our soul is just a beacon there all the time. We can identify the sun with our soul, with our heart, with love, with unconditional acceptance, with infinity. As far as I've pieced together, we have a central sun in the center of our galaxy that is the source code for all the stars in our galaxy. We have archetypes. We have the central largest version of it that then has the smaller aspects of it, the fractals of it, and they're all the same thing. They're all from the same source code, and to a certain extent, they all exist within the same origin matrix, I'll call it. The central sun has an origin matrix that also might be a small piece of another much larger system. But anyways, our soul is unconditional, and our soul probably has more to do with the true nature of the universe than anything else. Physics and spirituality are merging to say that the central star is a giant black hole that is the ultimate source of consciousness, because black holes are just the edge of what we understand. Black holes aren't actually this big black thing that just swallows things up in space mysteriously. The mysterious part is accurate in that sentence. Black holes are mysterious. They are on the edge of what we know, and there's a huge range of what a black hole can be. There's no uniformity in what a black hole is. There's certain characteristics that are similar, and there's certain characteristics that are not similar. And we know that when something gets much more massive, and when something gets much more heated, it transforms. This is one of the laws of the universe we see all over the place. We can make metal using this principle. So when something is very, very large, we're not going to know how it works. It's beyond us. It's far beyond us, because we're on our own scale. There's no way an ant just can't conceptualize being an elephant. An ant can have empathy for an elephant, but an ant can't conceptualize being an elephant, much in the way that we can't conceptualize what the center of the universe is based on our old models of thinking. We can't apply, this is a black hole, and now the center of the universe is a giant black hole. There's no comparison there, because it's a whole different layer of reality. We're talking about something so massive, it just dwarfs everything. Physics breaks, we have a sustained fusion reaction is a star, and that is like magnificent. We don't know how to do that. And the center of the universe is like, who even knows? It's far beyond a fusion reaction. A fusion reaction we consider pretty advanced form of technology that we can't really recreate stably on a large scale. If we could, our power problems would be basically solved. We use nuclear fission, which is radioactive particles falling apart, emitting radiation, which heats stuff up, which creates steam. This is our current power system. Nuclear fusion is a precise splitting of molecules and harvesting the energy that is released. It's precision. There's no room for error, and it's very powerful. Fission is the byproduct of radiation, of decaying matter, whereas fusion is intentionally dividing lighting things and harvesting the power by doing so. There's a whole different league. So we are infinitely tiny compared to even our sun. Our sun dwarfs our whole reality. So the center of our galaxy, dwarfs our reality times whatever number you can think of. And everything that I've heard and intuitively feel says that our soul comes from this central soul system. And SOL, SOUL, they're almost the same. Linguistically, they haven't even gone very far apart, universally. So our soul we can basically count on all the time. We don't even have to do much. All we have to do is surrender in the moment and say, I accept the love and light, and I'm back to my soul. And this is beautiful. We have a guidance. We have a love system, a love support system. Our guidance system from our spirit's much more demanding. So the way you can think about it, we have a father who unconditionally loves and supports and accepts us no matter what. As long as we bow to him, as long as we say, oh yeah, you're awesome, and then he's like, oh yeah, of course I am, here's my love and light. And that's all we have to do is let his love and light in. Going out into the sun and doing a little sun meditation, soaking up some sun, is a great thing to do, because this is a physical representation of bowing to our soul. In spirit, we want to pay a lot more attention to what she has to say. Her demands. She's very demanding. She has to speak through intuition, and so she has to be demanding, because intuition will start very soft and silent, and if we don't hear it, it'll get more and more loud, ending up with bad things happening in our life. So when we have a series of negative things that happen to us, these are generally our spirit saying, hey, there's something big going on that we're ignoring, and we need to get to it, because more and more big things are going to keep happening to us until we get to the bottom of this. Often this will take the form of avoidance or addiction. There's so many different pieces that can take the place of not following our guidance. But basically, we have to just listen to our intuition, no matter how crazy what it says sounds. Like, I think the leader of Findhorn, one of the most successful intentional communities, divinely inspired, I think the origin story was like a guy married to his wife, meets someone new, runs off with this new person, starts a whole new community. And, that doesn't sound very moral or very right, but if you look at the story and read the story, you can see how he was following his spirit. He was, this wasn't just a sexual thing. This wasn't just a second chakra emotional thing. This was a whole nother paradigm. He saw into a reality. He saw another timeline that would allow him to create something great. And he went for this timeline. So sometimes we just have to follow our intuition, follow our spirit's guidance, because it's a rich, complex system. It's not just a whim. It's not just a little idea. I mean, this guy created Findhorn. His organization, what he started, divinely inspired, created a system where people were growing the most magnificent vegetables out of the poorest soil. Because, again, divinely inspired. They were taught how to plant things in just the right way in conditions that should not produce much, and they produced way more than expected, consistently. This is like the magic of Findhorn. If you want to look up Findhorn, it's amazing. Divinely inspired community is what it is. There's not too many of these divinely inspired communities where there's such a passionate vision that is so magical and full of little spirit miracles like that. Beautiful story. Anyways, so again, listening to our spirit is such an important thing to do. And I've heard this all over the internet. When we're able to listen to the whisperings of our spirit and follow that's all we need, and that's beautiful. And our life is great. And sometimes it's challenging to follow what our spirit is asking us to do, and maybe we're doubting or a little resistive, and then spirit has to be a little bit louder and maybe even cause some difficulty in our life to get us to step back and say, hey, why am I experiencing difficulty? What am I doing that's causing this difficulty? Because generally when we experience difficulty, it might be just a little blip of something we have to get over, but it usually has something to do with ourselves. In some way we are asking for that difficulty to learn and grow from that difficulty. Okay, so that is our spirit. Talking a little bit more about our spirit, our physical body, which is most of our immediate existence. It's the house, it's the temple, our chakras. It's the central fold of this existence. So this is it's very close to our spirit as well, because our earth gives us our body, earth gives us our spirit. So self-care is so important, because this is a time when we are honoring earth. By taking care of ourselves, we are earth, our body is earth, our spirit is earth spirit. When we show our attention and our care and our effort and are planning to take care of ourselves, to give care to ourselves, we're giving care to our bodies, which are of the earth. So we are caring for the earth by caring for our bodies. It's really important to be aware of how we're doing this, because we don't want to be caring for our bodies in a way that's bad for the earth. So our care products, this is why it's really important to be aware of what our care products are made out of, because we don't want to be caring for our bodies with products that are bad for our bodies and bad for our earth, because we're the same. Our bodies are of the earth. Our bodies will literally become the soil of the earth eventually. So, come on. We're of the earth. We don't want to be using products that are bad for us and bad for the earth. Again, isolated, enzymatically, artificially created chemicals, using enzymes to create mirror image pictures which are not the same and thus do not exist in nature, which tend to cause a lot of problems with biology. They tend to just interfere with biology because they're not supposed to exist. They don't fit into a natural system. There are poisons and toxins that are natural, but these artificially made chemicals, these structures that did not exist before, are really destructive to everything around them because they're not supposed to exist. They're not in balance. They're imbalanced to begin with. And this is why we really want to make sure that we're not using it. We're not drinking tap water, because tap water is filled with all these artificial chemicals that are bad for life. The government says, oh, if you only have a small amount, it's not that bad. But these are the things that, Hitler was experimenting on people with. So, small amount, then not that bad, of something designed to be bad for us. So come on, let's just not drink tap water anymore. Let's accept the fact that the water is fucking horrible on this planet, and let's all drink filtered water. We're not that far off. You can already get filtered water almost everywhere. Most supermarkets these days, it's just really common, at least in California, Northern California, to have a water filter machine sitting on the corner on the outside of a building. You walk up with whatever, 25 or 50 cents and get yourself a gallon of water, because the pollution that's in the water is so bad, it'll just shut off our higher functioning and start causing chronic diseases. The stuff in tap water will cause chronic diseases because it shouldn't be in our body. Same with our food. It's very hard to find good food. If you have a farmer's market locally that sells organic produce, that's probably your best bet. If you have a Costco that sells organic produce, that's probably the next best bet, because it's very, very fresh. Costco just, deals with large quantities very quickly, and so fresh organic produce, and also you have the benefit of Costco is very cheap. So this is an example where you have the Matrix is kind of actually helping us. We are fully allowed to make use of the Matrix where it helps us. Costco is a great example. It's mostly garbage that they sell there. They sell huge bottles of alcohol and sugar, all kinds of refined sugars and destructive stuff, but they also have some of the highest quality products on the planet. So Costco is a really valuable resource. Looking for the gems within the Matrix is really important. We don't want to just shun all of society. We want to guide and lead society, and we do this by making things popular that are good. We want to popularize good things. So going to Costco and walking out with a bunch of organic produce is something good we are sharing with the world, because other people are watching us do this. It can be that simple. We can talk about it and blog about it as well. We can teach about it, but simply doing it, because almost everybody in Costco is buying, masses of garbage, and, the more the experience of buying good quality food at a good price is seen, the more it gets accepted culturally. It shouldn't be that challenging a paradigm. I think a lot of people are still stuck on the slave programming of good food is too expensive for me, which is ridiculous. Good food is the only stuff worth eating. There's a meme on Facebook that says, if there's a health food section of your store, what is the rest of the food? What else are they selling? Unhealthy food. Well, why are we buying unhealthy food? Why is unhealthy food an option? This is ridiculous that we have so many food options. Why are we being presented with 99.9% bad food options? Again, the Matrix wants us to eat bad food, so we're not really alive. If we eat food that's full of preservatives, that's old and stale and covered up with artificial flavorings, we're not going to feel very alive. We're going to get used to the certain artificial flavorings, and we're going to develop some kind of an addiction and not want to eat real food anymore. And we're going to lose ourselves to the Matrix, where it's very easy to come back online, to have a spiritual awakening, to be alive, simply by stopping eating all processed foods and eating as much organic raw food as possible, and start drinking really filtered water. Start checking in with yourself and feel what's out of balance. When we take care of ourselves, when we take our health into our own hands, Spirit loves this, and Spirit will guide us. The more we do this, the more Spirit will guide us, because she loves when we take care of ourself, herself. The more we take care of ourselves, when we take the time to take a shower after we work all day, when we take the time to rub our feet a little bit, to put a little essential oil on, when we take the time to take a 5-minute nap, because we all can take a 5-minute nap. No one is really too busy that they can't take a 5-minute nap. We allow, our nervous system to reset, and we are more fresh in the world, and we experience the world with slightly more joy and ease after that nap. Spirit experiences that joy and ease. Spirit wants us to do this. When we do self-care, when we are more calm and at ease with ourselves and everyone around us, this benefits Spirit, this benefits Earth directly, tangibly, not as just some cumulative little micro effect. It does that as well, but also physically, tangibly. Earth is like sighing in relief slightly. Earth is a giant complex being, so one little sigh of relief might not seem like that much, but millions of people taking care of themselves simultaneously, that's a big sigh of relief. So we just have to start thinking globally, in the sense that our small actions make a huge difference when we're all making small actions, because they're not small, they're all actions, they all have consequences, and so the more and more actions are done consciously to create conscious consequences, the more good we have. It's not like we just have to work and work and work to create reality, to create good stuff. Right now we're fighting on the front lines of consciousness versus unconsciousness, but it's not this illusionary slave system of we have to work 40 hours a week just to survive. This is an illusion. If you really look at how much it takes to survive, how much food we need, it takes very little. We really don't need most of our efforts are wasted. Let's put it this way. The Matrix has us wasting most of our efforts. The statistics, last I heard, were 2/3 of the food produced in the United States are thrown away before they get even consumed. They don't even 2/3 of the food, it just didn't make it anywhere. It's not like leftovers on your dinner table that you don't eat. This is like restaurants buy a bunch of food and make a bunch of food and then throw a bunch of food away. This is supermarket saying just throwing away a bunch of food. This is people having, a large section of the fridge that has food that will never be eaten, that'll just be thrown away. 2/3. So we don't have scarcity. We have mismanagement. We have a toxic system. The whole idea there's too many people on the planet, ridiculous. There's not enough food on the planet, ridiculous. These are artificial concepts. If people are monocropping and destroying the soil, and if people are being greedy and not allowing people to grow food that they need to survive, then yeah, that causes problems. Destroying the soil and not giving people what they need to survive. But that is slavery. That has nothing to do with finite resources. So anyways, we have these different aspects of our being. We've learned that through self-care, we're actually taking care of the planet. So this is where we see in spirituality, they say, just focus on yourself. We just need to take care of ourselves. We need to make ourselves better. And it's part of just the cumulative, however you want to say that word, effect of building up, but it's also every individual act of doing this is an act of rebalancing, is an act of centering. So we collectively bring the world back online by doing this for ourselves to the point where we are guided by Spirit. When we are taking such good care of ourselves and listening to our intuition so strongly that we hear all these whisperings and we follow our intuition in the moment, and whole world will just open up to us as we're doing this. This is higher states of consciousness. This is quantum networking. This is where we create the space to allow for a quantum network to exist. We are listening to Spirit. Spirit can see. Spirit is this whole planet, so Spirit can be aware of different things happening on this planet in a very profound way. So the more we're able to listen to Spirit, the better off we are. This is, again, when we surrender ourselves to the greater whole, we are guided by the greater whole, and the Matrix has said, surrender to the Matrix, become a slave to the system, because they are doing a 180 of saying surrender to yourself and listen to your own internal guidance. The Matrix is trying to 180 that. They're basically saying, don't listen to your intuition. Your intuition is bad and will cause problems. Listen to your ego and listen to your emotional body, because we control those. So all we have to do is let go of our ego and basically say, okay, I want to learn. I don't want to be right. I don't want to fight. I want to learn. I want to know more. I don't want hostility. I don't want confusion. All I have to do is say these things, really. We're taught not to say these things. We're taught to accept confusion. We're taught to accept difficulty. We're taught to tolerate things that aren't good for us. These are not good things. These are bad things. We need to be reconditioning ourselves to say that bad things are bad. It's okay to say that bad things are bad. Because right now we have a system that says bad things are good, and that's really bad. So all we have to do is be pointing out the good things to each other and saying, hey, we can listen to our guidance. That's great. Wonderful things happen when we all listen to our guidance. Hey, taking 5 or 10 minutes to make me feel good by doing good things for me, that's great things. We all benefit from that. Let's all start booking a little bit more time in hot springs and spas, and let's all take a bath every once in a while and use some bath salts, get a massage, maybe try to find a massage partner. You don't have to be very good at massage to find a massage partner. All you have to have is interest. And I'm a massage therapist. I've done a lot of massage. All you have to do is have an interest in massage. Most of the people that have certificates aren't particularly good, so you don't have to worry about that. Just, show that you're interested in massage in a non-sexual way, and you'll find someone who wants to do massage with you, or maybe in a sexual way, and someone wants to do massage in a sexual way with you. I don't know. There's all kinds of potentials, but non-sexual massage is something that can be a cultural norm. It's so beneficial for us as ourselves and as communities. In Japan, sharing massage is normal. Like, they have scheduled work breaks where they just sit down and stretch and do massage. Like, it's part of the culture. They value it so highly. They see the value of it so highly that it's integrated into their workplace. So massage is a form of self-care that we can share. Bathing and taking care of ourselves, the extended bathing routine of essential oils and softeners, or whatever you like to do to make yourself feel much better by taking care of yourself, or by we taking care of ourselves, is an aspect of self-care. Often taking a few more minutes to ourselves at the end of the day before transitioning to the next thing is a really good form of self-care. Finding moments of stillness is a really good form of self-care. If we can find quiet for a minute or two a day, it's so hard to find actual quiet. But if we can, put some earplugs in, drive out somewhere where it's quiet, get in our cars in a quiet location, just having a few minutes of quiet is a really great form of self-care. Okay, so I've touched on the soul from the universal soul, talked about the spirit from the earth spirit, from the universal spirit. Our body is earth's body. We are our own source code, so I'll briefly touch on this before I have to go. We are our own source code, so we've identified that we are not our bodies. Our bodies are earth. Our spirits are earth, our guidance system. Our soul is from the sun, the central sun, and we are a source code. Our source code is ourselves. So when you hear people saying, I am that I am, they're saying that I am a source code. I'm not anything else. I'm not my body. I'm not my mind. I'm not my guidance system. I'm not my love and my light. My love and my light isn't even mine. That's, the sun's. I am a source code. I am my own unique expression. I have my own way of being interested in the world and going about doing things. And this incarnate is a small expression of my source code. So aspects of my source code are definitely coming through this incarnate, but this incarnate is not an accurate representation of my source code. It's a small aspect of my source code that was sent on a mission here to accomplish very specific things. So in this incarnate, I have my own set of challenges that are set to allow me to grow, that give me impetus to grow and learn, and I have benefits, I have strong points, I have talents, and it's a balance of these two things. And before we're born, we get to we have a little bit of say in what challenges we want to have and what high points we want to have, and a certain amount of this is who our source code is. Our source code is a certain amount of these things, and our source code wants to experience and learn about a certain amount of things. So we may pick challenges in a very specific way, and we may pick support and guidance in a very specific way that sounds like it'll be really helpful. I know I chose to love apples before I was incarnated, as funny as that sounds. I wanted to be supported by apples, and I absolutely have a love affair with apples. That has been my whole life. I don't know why. I just absolutely love every kind of apple, and I will rotate through eating as many different varieties of apples as I can, so I never get tired of them, because if I have a new variety of apple to eat, I'll just eat apples every single day. I love them. So we are our own selves. And I can see how a lot of the challenges I've had in my life have been impetus, have been guidance systems to learn and grow in a certain area. So being a very sensitive person allows me to sense things very clearly and with a lot of range and depth. So I get a lot more information about the world around me because I'm very sensitive. I can sense a very finite details as well as very large systems. So again, sensitivity, generally seen as a bad thing, makes the life more intense, makes it more difficult, makes it harder, more painful, makes me able to do less things because I'm more sensitive to extremes. But at the same time, I'm able to draw way more information from the world. I have a very fine-tooth comb when it comes to information, emotional information, intellectual information. I can read people's body language and energy very well because I'm just dialed into the minutia. I'm very sensitive. I can see these very fine precision details that are often overlooked by most other people. So again, this is where something that's been very difficult and challenging in my life does have benefits, and it was there for a reason to teach me about these things. Also, we choose how much challenge we want to take on in life. We can choose to incarnate and not have much challenge if we really want to. Make virtually no soul progression. We can just hang out, have a hangout incarnate. Not the most helpful thing to do, but we get to make that choice to a certain degree. And people who've made that choice, you can tell and you can see within them. There's an attitude of carefree that might be mistaken for laziness, but it's because they chose not to do much this life. They have their life relatively easy. Money is not much of a problem. Their family is relatively stable. Their friends are pretty easy. They chose this. Maybe the life before it was really difficult and they wanted to take a break or something like that. So here comes the point where we can never judge another person's path because we don't know what their relationship with their source code and with the higher purpose is. We just don't know. We can definitely call out and act upon when there's a disrespect of spirit happening. We do not have to tolerate disrespect of spirit at all, but we can accept people for who they are. If they're taking a break in life and just not wanting to do much, as long as they're not doing it in a disrespectful way, as long as they're covering themselves and doing it right, we don't have to judge that. And same with people who are very dark and very unconscious and doing a lot of negative things. Ideally we want to show them other ways of being, but some people may just choose to be dark. We've heard about incarnates of the devil. These are just people that choose to be dark, to choose to experience the darkness for this incarnate. So their highest purpose in this life is to live a wide range of darkness. And, that's kind of scary and kind of evil, but it's something that we have to allow because there's light and darkness. We're not trying to force darkness to be light. We are shining light everywhere so that there's light shining everywhere and everything gets examined and explored and we spread love everywhere. But we're very, very dedicated to the light. We're not just going to be confused and, start crawling around in shadows. So we're very open and loving and gentle, but we're also not going to accept darkness. And so darkness has a finite amount of time anywhere because light likes to spread. That's the nature of the universe, is light likes to spread. So eventually darkness is going to have light in it. It's a pretty simple concept. So our mission here is to guide this process, because this process could take 1,000 years. The archetypal number is 1,000. It's inspecific. It just means a long amount of time. This is the age of transformation where we wake up, and it's up to us who are awakening now to be the example for everyone else, because it might take a little while. Some of these people are very entrenched in their belief systems. The Matrix has done a really good job programming their beliefs, programming their thoughts and feelings, programming genetic lines. So we have hereditary lines that are passing on these belief systems, these cellular responses to the belief systems. So the beliefs are encoded in our cells and in our DNA. So literally our beliefs are energetic patterns that have manifestations of physical actions. So we're doing physical actions that support these beliefs, that support the Matrix. So it can take a little while for this to all shake loose, because we're not grabbing people and yanking them out of their family and saying, hey, your family's bad. We're just saying, I exist by myself and I'm happy. I'm not looking for anyone else to make me happy. What do you got? Do you have anything better than that? Or do you want to learn from me? This is our greatest tool, is showing how we can defeat the Matrix and how it's not a fight. We do it, it takes effort, but we're not trying to destroy anything or hurt anything. We're trying to make our lives better. And the more we make our lives better, the more not only do we benefit, but everybody else gets to experience that. And eventually it's just a spread of consciousness, and everybody starts to wake up and say, hey, I can make my life better and everyone's life around me better. It's easy. This is the natural state. This is natural law. We are not designed to have to be slaves. We are not designed to have someone else experience something bad for us to experience good. We are designed as one consciousness. We are all very empathetic and very psychic, but there are tons of things that block this stuff. There's all kinds of food additives and preservatives and the junk in the water and the junk in the air, the toxicity, the slave system, the enforcing feeling bad and feeling crushed and feeling worn out and feeling confused and frustrated. These are all false feelings. These are very temporary, fleeting feelings. They're fine to have, but somehow we live in a day and age where everybody has them virtually all the time. Virtually everybody is ruled by their confusion and their disinterest and their frustration. More of people's times are taken up with these things than any other one thing. And this is, again, an illusion. It's fake. At any point we can say, that person was mean to me. I don't like that. I'm going to try not to be around that person. I'm going to try to put up boundaries so they can't do that again. Oh, wait a second. I identified the problem. I've done my best to solve it. I'm going to be happy now. It's that easy. Someone could fit, if they're, no matter what happens, forgiveness and processing are available. It's really important to process it and not just let go of it. If we have a process of letting go and it feels really released, then that's perfect. But we really want to make sure it feels really released and we're not just intellectualizing it away or emotionalizing it away. And we want it to not really come back very much. That's a good sign of actually processing. So we can process virtually everything by giving it up to the one soul, saying unconditional love and light is here for everybody. If I have a problem, I'm going to identify it and I'm going to create the separation between my problem and me. I'm going to lift it up out of me using a very tight, psychic, tangible, chi practice, visualization, very energetic. Someone requested I put a video up of this. I might try to do it in a video, but use some alchemy to get rid of emotions that are stuck onto us. And the more we do this, the more light we feel, and the more able we are to take on more. The more buoyant we feel, the more things make sense. The less pressure there is, and we enter into a bliss state. And the more and more people are into a bliss state, the more things just work. Just because we're in bliss doesn't mean we don't want to work. If we're in a bliss state, we want to work. We see how to work effectively. So the more we find our bliss state, the more we take care of ourselves, the more we heal the planet. We don't need to go out and talk about petitions. We don't need to go out and talk about negative things about people who are doing negative things. All we have to do is create our solutions, create our reality more, and we heal the whole paradigm. So I would love to hear what you all think, any questions or comments, or what you'd like to hear more about. If there's a clarification you're looking for, I'd love to hear what you want to know more about. All right, have a beautiful morning.